90.3 WHPC, the voice of Nassau Community College. How you doing on this Monday morning from the press box, part of the WHPC Sports Talk family? I am Rob Leonard. Joining me on the phone right now is Timothy J. Leonard. Brother, how are you doing?
Wonderful, brother. How are you?
That sounds great, actually. Okay. Anyway, let's talk sports as we always do. Big weekend for the Mets. They shouldn't have done what they did. They lost 2, they won 2. Really, let's be honest, it should have been 3-1 over the Padres. They played well, didn't do well, though, I thought, at least. Let's start off with the Mets, because I think that's a better story. As much as the Yankees are a good story right now, I think the Mets are the one, that possibly could be in the playoffs. We know the Yankees are going to be in the playoffs. So, what do you think, brother? You there, brother?
Yes, anything is possible, brother.
Okay, hear me? Go. Yeah, I can hear you. Go.
All right, I'm all right. Whatever. Anyway, brother, the Mets just showed us what playoff baseball is like. And yes, it's only August, and yes, it's not officially the playoffs, but this is what the Mets are going to run into in October, and if they get there, of course, because what happened with the Mets is they should have won 3 out of 4 from the Padres in San Diego. That would have been a great weekend for the Mets. And instead, playoff baseball reared its ugly head yesterday. Jose Butto gave up a 2-run home run in the 8th inning to Jurickson Profar. And then Jackson Merrill, the impressive Padres rookie, hit a walk-off home run in the 9th inning against Edwin Diaz. And what should have been a Mets win turned into a Mets loss. And that's how it happens in the playoffs. Close games, good pitching, and one swing of the bat.
Yep.
So the Mets, it certainly wasn't a bad week for the Mets. They took 2 out of 3 from the Orioles. They split with San Diego. They wound up going 4-3 against 2 very good teams. But you can't let games slip away if you're the Mets at this point of the season. You're still trying to catch the Braves. You're still trying to get that 3rd wild card spot. And the Padres and the Diamondbacks are running away with the first 2 wild card spots. So the Mets are playing for one playoff position. They can't waste games like they did yesterday.
No.
That should have been a win. It might turn into a pivotal loss depending on how things go with the Braves. But, that to me was a wasted opportunity yesterday. And it was a bit of a gut punch of a loss because the Mets legitimately should have won that game yesterday.
They should have. It's if the Mets don't make the playoffs, well, at least a wild card, yesterday's game is going to be pointed at as one of the reasons.
Well, the wild card's the only way they're making the playoffs, brother.
I know, brother. I can always dream.
No.
Philly has a collapse.
We deal in reality on this show, brother.
Why?
Because it's real.
Okay.
The Mets aren't catching they can't catch the Braves. How are they catching the Phillies?
Oh, I don't know. Anyway, brother, you don't need to use the phone anymore. You can put the phone down.
Very good, brother.
Okay, because we got everything locked in now. Okay.
Lock it in.
Locked in. Anyway, so the Mets should have won. I don't know, man. They're leading, and then Edwin Diaz.
Like I said, you win 4 out of 7 against the Orioles and the Padres, and that's a good week.
It's not
4-3 doesn't sound very good.
No, it's not really, brother.
If the Mets play .571 ball, which is what 4-3 is, they'll make the playoffs.
Yeah,
the problem is they need to do that. They can't just do that every week, because if they do, if that's what the rest of the season looks like, it's entirely possible they won't make the playoffs. There's only 5 weeks left in the season.
Right. That's why I think you need
4-3 every week the rest of the way. Now you're 10 games over 500. I don't know if 10 games over 500 will make the playoffs.
I don't think so.
That is the benchmark that we have set on this show, because it is a realistic benchmark. But the Braves might finish better than that.
They could.
So the Mets got to win some games at some point.
But that's why I think you can't be 4-3, 4-3, and 4-3. You have to be 5-2, 5-2, 5-2.
Well, there's got to be some 5-2s and 6-1s thrown in there somewhere. But the Mets, when you look at the Mets' schedule to finish the season, which luckily for you I did last night, it's not good. You look at what they have after the Diamondbacks. The Mets then have series against the White Sox, the Red Sox, the Reds, and the Blue Jays. That is where they need to fatten up. And that's going to be the pivotal part of their season, because after those four teams, and let's face it, the Red Sox are playing pretty well. The White Sox are awful. They're historically awful. But the Red Sox are playing fairly well. They're not a great team, though, by any means.
The first team, by the way, the White Sox, to hit 100 losses this early in the season. I mean, it's August.
Fastest to 100 losses. They are 31-100.
Yep.
That's horrible. I mean, it's disgusting how bad they are. But, so you got to win those games. You got to win those three. Then they're playing the Red Sox, who, like I said, they're pretty good. They're not great, but they're certainly not a bad team. The Reds were, until recently, at least in contention for the playoffs. I don't think they are anymore in realistic terms. And the Blue Jays have underachieved pretty much all season.
Right.
And then you have two series against the Phillies. It's going to be 7 games that will be sandwiched around a series with the Nationals. Now, the Nationals aren't bad, but that's a team that you need to win at least 2 out of 3. So that's what I'm talking about when I'm saying, what the Mets have ahead of them. Those are the National Series. You have to win 2 out of 3. Have to, or sweep, obviously.
Right.
But there's not a lot of chances where the Mets can say, all right, we can sweep this series, or we need to sweep this series. When you start running into series again, let's say against the Phillies, where all of a sudden now it turns into, well, we need to sweep this, then you're in trouble. Because the Mets finished the season with the Braves and the Brewers. The last 3 series they play are Phillies, Braves, Brewers. Those are 3 playoff teams. So the schedule is not doing the Mets any favors. It's time for the Mets to do themselves some favors.
Well, one thing about it, if it's the Phillies, if they're automatically in, they might not play their best players. So that would be
entirely possible.
That'd be good, but
also unrealistic.
Well, you don't know that. But at the same,
I do know that. The reason I do know that, brother, is because if you look at last season, the teams that finished first in their division wound up losing in the first round because they had 5 days off or whatever it was. Teams are not going to want to rest guys because they're going to get rest.
Well,
those if you're not a wild card team and you're not playing those games, and the baseball is still thinking about changing the format, because the teams that have the best records wind up getting time off, and it winds up hurting them because they're getting like 5 or 6 days off, and you wind up getting out of your routine. And then to get back into the routine takes time, and the playoffs is obviously a place where you don't have time. So, let's put it this way: if it goes any way according to how things have gone in the past couple of years, the Phillies aren't going to give their guys any rest. They're going to want them playing because they're going to get rest anyway.
Well, the team I worry about more is the Braves, brother. That's the
Braves is literally the only team the Mets need to be worried about right now.
Right. That's what
because that's the team you need to catch.
Right. So
that's the team. That's the team the Mets need to do better than, because right now, that's the only team that matters. As far as the Mets in the National League goes, because that is the only team that they're looking to catch. They got to get that to that 3rd spot, and once they get there, then they can worry about whatever else they want to worry about. I mean, the Mets right now are 5.5 games behind the Padres, and 7 games behind the Diamondbacks. The Diamondbacks in any other division would be a legit division leader. They're 19 games over 500, but they're behind the Dodgers. Both of those teams are behind them. Both of those teams have played excellent baseball in the second half of the season. Diamondbacks right now are on a 6-game winning streak. So they're doing what they're supposed to be doing to get to the postseason. The Mets, I'm sorry to say, are not.
No, they're not. No.
even though, like I said, they certainly played well this week. We said it last week. If the you can't expect to go like 6-1 when you're playing 7 games against the Padres and the Orioles. Is it possible? Sure it is, but it's not likely. Those are good teams. You're not going to keep beating good teams. So, that's what the Mets are up against right now, and it's what their task is, because the bad opening 2 months of the season that they had. They had to overcome that. Now they have to overcome, the form that they're in right now. I mean, they're basically kind of almost in a win one lose one kind of situation. They're playing pretty well, but they're not excelling. Like I said, like the Padres and the Diamondbacks, and that's they need to figure out a way to get there, and especially in those 4 series that I just mentioned.
Right.
White Sox, Red Sox, Reds, and Blue Jays.
And
they need to. I don't even know how many games it is, but if let's say it's 14 games, they need to win 10 of them.
I agree with that. Also, brother, one of the things the Mets are doing, I mean, I guess the Mets not doing. I guess their attendance is not what it should be. They're doing a thing right now: 4 tickets, 4 pretzels, 4 sodas, and 4 hot dogs for $100, which is pretty damn cheap. I don't know why they're doing it. But you would think that more people would be, wanting to get tickets. The Mets are on, in a playoff run, which this season, if you remember, wasn't supposed to happen. The Mets said it last year. Oh, we're going to be rebuilding. We're not going to, probably be in the race. And then, of course, they realized you don't sell tickets that way at all. And then they said, well, we're going to try, and they made some deals. So it's
that's why they haven't sold that many tickets. It's because fans weren't excited about the season.
but now they should be.
Message that ownership put out to them.
I know, but what I'm saying is that the Mets, the fans should be going more to these games, and they're playing well, but they're not playing great. That's, I think, that is the main difference. Let's talk about the Yankees, brother. Old Timers game on Saturday. The Yankees still do this the best in baseball and actually in sports. The 2009 team, last time the Yankees won a World Series, was celebrated. A-Rod returned, wearing his number 13 shirt, cheered. I thought he was cheered pretty well, considering.
He got a decent ovation.
Yeah.
It was certainly polite, and the memory of the 2009 series was quite fond. Because A-Rod was let's face it, he was the man in that series.
He was.
I'm not going to say not in the World Series, because he actually didn't have such a great World Series, but in the first 2 rounds of the playoffs, he carried them. They don't get to the World Series without the performance that he gave them in the first 2 series. And that was the key to that postseason. A-Rod was hitting bombs all over the place, and then he finally cooled off a little bit in the World Series. He wasn't terrible in the World Series by any means, but he was otherworldly.
Well,
he was a superstar in those first 2 series,
right,
to get to the World Series,
and
then they played the Phillies, who were the defending champions at that point, and handled business. Still remember the Yankees beating Pedro when Pedro was the best thing the Phillies could run out there, because their pitching staff wasn't all that good that season, and Pedro was pretty much on his last breath. But that was the big Matsui game. He had I think it was 5 RBIs, and the Yankees took care of business in that series.
Right, and the question has, and one of the things that you saw after the game, well, first of all, Derek Jeter gets announced by Bob Shepard again. Michael Kay goes, and here's the captain, and it was number 2, Derek Jeter. That's going to follow him.
It makes me wonder, because you remember when Jeter was introduced last year, and Michael Kay never actually said his name.
Right, because everyone was flipping out.
That now, the way Jeter was introduced on Saturday with Bob Shepard's voice, which that's never going away. It's on. It's recorded. Jeter had Shepard recorded before Shepard died.
Right.
So because he wanted that for all of eternity. He wanted to be able to hear Bob Shepard's voice when he was introduced. But it makes me wonder last year, because Michael Kay never said his voice, and I don't know, maybe the recording didn't work last year. I don't know, but they never actually said his name. when they introduced him.
No, he just they just sort of started cheering, and of course, Derek Jeter has become the Joe DiMaggio. He's going to be announced last for the rest of his life for whenever there's a Old Timers game, and they have him every year. He's going to be announced last. He is going to be have Bob Shepard announce it as long as they don't lose the file. And that's probably a good thing because he's the guy. And at the press conference afterwards, it was Derek Jeter and Alex Rodriguez. Now I know they've worked together.
Well,
on
there
Fox.
was a big press conference, bro. There was about 5 of them there, but yeah, A-Rod and Jeter were 2 of them.
Well, they focused on them too in the
Yeah. AJ Burnett was there, Girardi was there. There was one other guy, I forget who, but there was a 5. You know what, brother? And I just thought of this because you mentioned that Jeter will always be the last guy.
As well as should.
Let's go 20 years down the road, brother.
Right.
Who's getting introduced last? Derek Jeter or Aaron Judge?
Derek Jeter.
Aaron Judge could have 700 home runs.
Doesn't
by the time
matter.
he's done.
Doesn't matter. I'll tell you why.
It certainly could matter, brother.
No, I'll tell you why. Because Derek Jeter
the reason
is generational. Aaron Judge is going to be generational too. But
those guys would be the last 2 guys introduced. I can tell you that.
Well, how many rings does Derek Jeter have?
That's what I was going to say. Aaron Judge needs to get a handful. Needs to get you're not looking at me, brother, but he needs to get a handful of rings here.
Yes, he does.
And right now, Aaron Judge has 0, and that for Yankee fans, that's the key stat. The rest of the stats almost don't matter. You got to put rings on your fingers.
What did Derek Jeter say?
It's not Aaron Judge's fault.
No.
Aaron Judge is doing everything. But that's what I'm saying is that if the Yankees can help Aaron Judge put a few rings on his fingers, then we have a discussion.
No, but it was always
Aaron Judge. He hit 62 home runs in 2022, and he hit 63 in 2024. Here is number 99, Aaron Judge, and the fans will roar.
Yeah, but brother, it's like Joe DiMaggio. How many greats came after him, and he was always the last guy because that's what happens.
That was part of a contract deal.
Yeah, I know. He's the greatest living legend. Whatever.
Yeah, when they say the greatest living Yankee, when Mickey Mantle was still alive, I think there's a lot of people who might question that.
Well, that's the thing. That's a great. That's
no
a great
question. And Joe DiMaggio was a great baseball player.
Well,
I'm certainly not diminishing what he did in any way. But
that's
if you're picking a team. Who are you taking first, Mickey Mantle or Joe DiMaggio?
Joe DiMaggio.
Really?
Yeah.
Why?
Because he didn't strike out.
Wow.
Plus, he won 5 rings, and plus he.
Well, again, brother, my argument always when people start talking about championships to justify a player is this is what I say about Harry Kane, because Harry Kane is certainly one of the greatest soccer players in the world, and when he was with Tottenham, they didn't win anything. And I always tell him, Harry Kane's not the GM.
Right.
Harry Kane's not the guy putting the team together. Aaron Judge isn't the GM. He's not putting the team together.
Well,
otherwise, he'd get a better pitching staff. He'd get a better bullpen.
Right, but it's like, when if you watch Inside the NBA on TNT, what does Shaq always say to shut Charles Barkley up? I have 4 rings.
Oh, that's good Shaq impersonation, brother.
Thank you. But getting back to, what was that?
Yeah, but Shaq, Shaq, he won. He had Kobe.
Right.
Who did Barkley have?
Well, he had Julius Erving. Oh, no. Julius was there, I think.
Julius was old by the time Barkley got there.
He's still Julius Erving. Anyway, but what was I going to say? I forgot now.
But Barkley had Julius Erving, but the Celtics had Bird, McHale, and Parrish.
Right, that's true. and Danny Ainge and Walton.
And nobody cares about them. But the Lakers had Kareem and Magic at that point.
Yes,
so,
I agree with that.
So Chuck having Julius Erving at that point really didn't mean a whole lot.
Right, but and one thing about the Yankees with Old Timers, they know how to do it, and it bothers me that last year that the Mets in 2022 they have this great return of Old Timers game. They brought back everyone they could. There was even we were told by Jay Horowitz that they tried to get Dave Kingman to come, which would have been incredible. he could
Why?
make it.
Why are you so hung up on Dave Kingman?
Hey, Dave Kingman, Tim, when we were kids, man, he was the guy for about 3 years. You know?
But that shows you how bad those Mets teams were.
Yeah, I know that, but
he was a great home run hitter, but that's all he did.
That's all we care about. Look at Pete Alonso. He only hits home runs. He can't hit either. No one says, hey, he's doing his Dave Kingman. But, last year the Mets should have done for the 50th anniversary of the 73 team, which they didn't do, and which was too bad. And you remember we've talked to Cleon Jones and we've talked to Ed Kranepool. They talked about how much they loved Old Timers game and how well they were treated. And you think to yourself, why didn't they do it the next year? Jay Horowitz, who's in charge of that, obviously it's not his call to actually have the game, but I'm surprised that the Mets last year didn't do it. I would still like to see a tribute to the 73 team, one of my favorite teams. But the Mets next year, you got the 86 team coming up. Everyone's still basically around from that team. So it's going to be interesting to see how the Mets handle it. But the Yankees always do it right. You can't deny that they do it right. Just perfect. And
they do. That's the one thing that the Yankees, as far as I'm concerned, do ceremonies and tributes like that better than any team because there's more for them to do.
Sure. I agree with that.
And they've done it for a long time, and they have a history to call back on. It's a little sad that they don't play the games anymore, but
yeah, but you know what? I understand why. I mean, the players are in better shape now, so they probably could do it. But you don't want your idol to be tripping in the outfield. Remember, Willie Mays has some footage of Willie. He basically caught the ball, but it wasn't him covering the outfield like he did with the Giants. Well,
yeah, when you're older, I mean, look. Let's face it. If A-Rod and Jeter and Posada, if those guys took swings, they could hit home runs.
I'm sure they could.
They're still in shape. I mean, Jeter now is like what? Or A-Rod, I know, is 49 years old now. I mean, I'm not saying A-Rod could still play because no, he can't. But at 49, he's in really damn good shape.
Oh yeah, and players
could A-Rod maybe poke one over the fence in Yankee Stadium? Sure, he could.
I have no doubt. I have no doubt that Derek Jeter can do the same. It'd be kind of fun is to have them play like a video baseball game.
No,
I know they would do it, but
I don't know. Who knows? They probably could.
That'd be fun.
That's
also,
generation.
Yes, it's a generational thing.
Put it on a scoreboard and have I don't know. Maybe they could do it the night before, play it.
Yes, that's the thing I would do. You play it the night before. One more thing, before we get to the Yankees team itself, over the weekend, especially because A-Rod was there, there's talk. Okay, should the Yankees retire his number? Should he, be treated the way other great Yankees are and have been and will be? Should Alex Rodriguez have his number retired? And, that's an important thing.
I personally, I say no. The steroid issue is obviously a big issue.
Right.
And, he was connected with biogenesis when he was with the Yankees because the steroid admission was when he was playing for the Rangers.
Right.
But I don't know that it was ever proven that he took steroids when he was with the Yankees, but let's face it, the stain is there. And then with what happened at the end of his tenure with the Yankees, he was suspended for the 2014 season. He sued the Yankees. He sued Yankee doctors. He sued everybody.
And it didn't help him.
And to me, that doesn't say retire my number. Now, all of that being said, A-Rod won two American League MVP awards and was an All-Star 7 times while he was with the Yankees. He hit 351 home runs during his 12 seasons with the Yankees, and he got his 3,000th hit when he was a Yankee. So there was a lot of milestones that he reached, but at the same time, to me it's not. I think the off the field drama that was created, I think, takes him out of that kind of conversation.
I think what the Yankees are going to do. They're going to wait 5 to 10 years to give him credit. There's no real ring of honor per se for the Yankees or for the Mets, really. So I think they're going to wait a little bit, see how things happen at stuff like Old Timers games, and I think it's stuff like that. I think what you have is you're right. His numbers are very good considering.
His numbers are Hall of Fame quality.
Right.
But
So
does that get him into the Hall of Fame? I don't know. I don't think it does.
Yeah, I know. I think if it
because it hasn't yet.
I know, but I think they wait. I think they wait on all those players and not just A-Rod. Rafael Palmeiro of all, someone like that. I think you're going to wait on them and see what happens, and maybe they get put in by the Players Committee or whatever it's called now.
I think that's what the writers are doing. It seems to be what they're doing.
Right.
Is they're not making judgments on the so-called steroid guys, but I think they're basically looking at it and saying, well, we want to keep waiting and see if there's any actual proof that emerges. But it's been more than 10 years for a lot of these guys.
Right.
And when you look at where it is, I think they're looking to the players where the writers are saying, hey, if the players want these guys in, then let them handle it. Because they're the same guys who said, well, steroid guys are cheating, and how is it fair if Barry Bonds, for example, if he's cheating, well, that means now I have to cheat because I have to be able to keep up. And the great players were great either way. Barry Bonds was great before he allegedly started taking steroids.
Right.
But I think they're going to let the Veterans Committee, or whatever we're calling it nowadays, I think the writers seem to be taking that approach, is that we're not going to put these guys in. We're going to let them wait to 10 years, get off the ballot. And then if the Veterans Committee says, oh, you know what, that guy was a Hall of Famer, I don't care what allegations were there against him, we're going to vote him in. That's how it seems like it's going. So if the Veterans Committee decides, hey, A-Rod hit almost 700 home runs and was an MVP how many times and finally did win a ring with the Yankees and had 3,000 hits, yes, this guy belongs in the Hall of Fame, then that decision would be made. The writers aren't going to do it.
I forgot that the Yankees sort of forced him out to retire. I forgot about that until this weekend I was reading the paper.
Well, I mean, like I said, there was all the drama. He came back. He had actually a very good season in 2015.
Yeah, I remember that.
After the suspension, and then 2016, he couldn't hit anymore. And obviously, then the whispers come back. It's like, well, he can't do it without the juice. But we don't know how long he had been taking steroids for.
Right, and you know what happens.
He admitted to it.
Right, but you know what happens also.
We don't have a timeline for
right, but what happens also with steroids, you're running super fast towards the cliff, and you don't stop for the cliff. You just go, and then once you're off the cliff, you just immediately drop, and that's what happens.
Love the cliff, brother.
Well, that's what happens with steroids. You're on them, and all of a sudden you're not on them anymore, and then there's nothing left.
Yeah, well, so. A-Rod was not a good player in 2016, and the Yankees were just like, look, we need you to be done with this because the distraction is way too much. Baseball didn't want to deal with it either.
Right. They just
wanted the chance to get out of the season-long slump he was in, and then the Yankees were like, no, you're done. And I don't know how much the league got involved because obviously that kind of stuff doesn't get reported. Nobody's going to admit to it.
Right.
But and then the conspiracy theory people start taking over. But that might have had something to do with it. That baseball wanted this chapter to be closed.
See, I thought that they would have let him get 700 home runs, and then
But again, how long is that going to take?
A month.
He finished with 697.
Right.
But at that point, as badly as he was hitting, 3 home runs could have taken a month and a half.
Yeah. So what? Let him get it.
The Yankees, he was batting 200.
I know.
The Yankees didn't want to deal. They're paying this guy $28 million or whatever it was, and he's batting 200 with no power.
They're still paying him though.
Yeah, but that doesn't mean you got to play him.
Well, get your money's worth. Anyway, yesterday, Aaron Judge, man, This guy's an incredible home run hitter.
He's an incredible player, brother. Don't limit him with home run hitters. He's batting .330.
Okay, well, he's an incredible player.
Second
How's
in the
that?
American League in batting.
He's going to be MVP. I wonder if he can get Triple Crown too.
That's where we're at.
I mean, that would be incredible.
He's got Bobby Witt Jr. for the Royals is a phenomenal hitter. And the contract that he signed before this season, I forget the terms, but it was something like 12 years or whatever for crazy money. It already looks like a bargain. And when you sign a contract that big and it looks like a bargain in the first year, then the team did well, even though they gave him more than $300 million. But that kid is an unbelievable player himself. But as good as he is, Aaron Judge is far better.
Yes, he is. And you know who's actually living up to his contract now? I'm just going to jump a little bit.
Aaron Judge.
Well, yeah, his contract's now cheap. Francesco Lindor.
I'll tell you what, Lindor has put himself into the MVP conversation.
Yes, he has. He's finally earning his money. A little bit late, but as you said before, he starts late. He starts getting into the game about the end of May, for whatever reason. But he's playing really well, and he's got to be the guy who leads the Mets in the next month and a week. So,
I mean, he has been, and ESPN finally recognized that. They wrote a story about him in the leadership role on the Mets, and it took a little while for that to happen too. But he is solidly the face of that franchise now. And I know Met fans wanted Pete Alonso to be that guy, and he still, in some regards, is. But Lindor is the unquestioned leader of that team, and he shows that on pretty much a daily basis.
Well, he should be, brother. When you're getting paid that much,
money doesn't always mean leadership, brother.
Well, it helps.
Money means you're a good player.
It helps,
but it doesn't always mean leadership.
It helps, brother. You know that.
Oh, of course, but some people are born with that gene, and some aren't.
That part's true.
That's just how it is.
I agree with that.
So Aaron Judge is a born leader. I mean, he's got so many Jeter-like qualities to him.
There was a picture
scary.
I saw from Old Timers game. Someone was smart enough to get Jeter and Judge in a picture together alone. That's like 50 years from now. It's like the picture where Jeter's with Yogi Berra. That's a great picture because what did he say about Yogi? He goes, "I want his rings." That's what he said.
Of course, that's all Jeter ever wanted. That's really what Judge wants. Judge doesn't care about home run records.
No.
Judge wants to win championships, and Jeter was fortunate enough to be in an era where he not only had a Hall of Fame closer, but let's face it, there is a world that exists where Andy Pettitte and Jorge Posada and Bernie Williams are all Hall of Fame players. They are all three of those guys, and there's many others. Paul O'Neill, Tino Martinez, they are in the Hall of Very Good, as
I
the
agree.
saying goes.
I agree.
And
I like that.
I
love the 4 years of the Yankees winning. I mean, I'm a Mets fan, but they were a cool team, and it was all led by Joe Torre. And
it was very difficult to root against that team.
It was.
Just because it was put together the right way. The players themselves, they were all very likable and relatable. I mean, it's very difficult to root against Derek Jeter.
Right.
What did the guy do? He did nothing but enhance the game. He did nothing to stain the game, and he said all the right things always.
Yep.
How do you root against that guy unless of course you're a mook from Boston who just hates everything New York.
Yeah, well, those are your friends. Anyway, we're going to take a break right now. You're listening to 90.3 WHPC from the Press Box. I'm Rob Leonard. He's Tim Leonard. If you have a comment or question, give us a call, 516 572-7440.
This show on 90.3 WHPC is brought to you by CarStar Celebrity Chase Collision, with 2 locations in Limerick and Oceanside, who remind you that New York state law says you always have the right to choose which shop will fix your car. CarStar Celebrity Chase Collision offers a full range of services: 24-hour towing between Montauk and Manhattan, shuttle service, and they can help you with a rental car arrangement if needed. All repairs include the CarStar Lifetime Nationwide Warranty, ensuring that the experts at Celebrity Chase Collision are always on your side.
Y sí, hablamos español.
More information is available at 516-593-0920 or online at celebritychasecollision.com.
90.3 WHPC, the voice of Nassau Community College. From the press box, part of the Sports Talk family here at WHPC. Sports Talk, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday at 4 p.m. And then, of course, what's the other one? Oh, yes, Tuesday, 11 p.m. I'm Rob Leonard on the phone or on the Zoom from deep in the heart of Queens is my brother Tim. I got to read this first, brother. Join WHPC as we broadcast live from Roosevelt Field this Friday from 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. We're celebrating back-to-school time and reminding you it's not too late to register for classes here at Nassau Community College. Catch the Nassau Mix and the WHPC Sports Talk live show from the first floor outside Dick's Sporting Goods and enjoy some free samples from our friends at New York Fries, too. See you Friday, 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. at the Roosevelt Field Mall, right here on 90.3 WHPC. Brother, we have Hank is calling in. Hank, are you there? Hank, are you there?
Yes, I'm
all right. All right.
Hank is
all
there.
right. Enjoy the comments about all about you've been talking about the Mets and the Yankees and everything. Kind of an unrelated, topic, but since you guys are sportsmen and radio guys,
thank you.
What do you think about 880, AM changing from all news to sports?
Well, technically, they're allowed to do it. I mean,
Try to do this in under 3 minutes, bro.
I'm going to do it in 2 minutes. CBS AM was still one of the top 10 billing stations in New York, but they have a large staff. And the people at Odyssey, their stock is about 10 cents a share right now. So you can buy 1,000 shares for, $10 or something? So let's put it this way. Do I think CBS AM should still be around? Yes. We need, this is New York. It's like having, all these newspapers. As much as I'm not a New York Post fan, I don't want to go out of business because it's New York City. You want as much news information as you can have. Even though I'm not a fan of the Post, I like their sports and I like Page 6. So I think it's not a good thing, but you know what? Odyssey's allowed to do it. They own it, and they're actually just renting the signal to Good Karma Broadcasting, which is going to broadcast ESPN Radio. The local version, Michael Kay is still going to be on there. They're still covering the Mets. So I'm going to love the fact that Michael Kay is going to get a promo saying the best broadcast team in baseball on his show because he flipped out a couple of weeks ago about that. So the Mets are still going to be on. The Rangers and Islanders, I think, are going to be on because of ESPN Radio. CBS AM, if you're driving in the car, you can say, well, I got my little app here. But you know what? They do it better, and they know where the traffic is. They know where the news is. Do I think it's a good idea for Odyssey? No. But they feel it's easier to get rid of an AM signal where they don't have to worry about it, except, paying the electricity, basically. So, that's it. But I'm not happy about it, but a lot of other people in New York radio aren't either. But, there's still WINS, so we can't complain too much. Though that was a different type of station, CBS AM was a different type of station than INS. They always have been. INS has always been the headlines. CBS AM has always been, they had different things going on, so.
Yeah. No, I'm gonna miss the news and the financial reports and the traffic on the 8s and all of that stuff.
Right,
And,
right.
Yeah, I don't know if we just need another. I mean, I like sports, but I don't think we need another sports station.
Well, it's you know what it was. They were on 98.7. ESPN Radio was the local version was on 98.7. They had ESPN Radio when it was national when they didn't have any local guys. So they're just switching signals. So that's the weird part.
It's not like we're getting another sports station. It's just
right.
that they're moving us. They're moving the station from the FM to the AM. I mean, we are losing an iconic station,
right?
And a lot of people are losing jobs because of that. But it's not like they are trading news for sports per se, because that sports station was already available.
Yeah.
But this is to me it's a massive loss. I mean, this is like I said, this is an iconic radio station, and it's now silent.
And also, Hank, the other thing about it is. Everyone says, "Well, I can get it on the app. I can get news and weather. I don't need a radio." And I've heard that on this. People have called me up. Why do you do the weather? Well, it's because it's on my log to play or read. And the thing is, they go, "I can get on the app." I go, "You can get anything on the app. You can get anything you want on the app. Doesn't mean I shouldn't do my job of doing weather or playing music, because you can play any music that you want." But you listen to this station or other stations because they're doing something you appreciate and like and understand. Just because there's something on the computer doesn't mean we all are going to be on the computer. It's like getting traffic information from I won't mention any apps, but they'll say, "Well, make a right here," and you're like, "Why? Why? There's no traffic on the other road. Why am I making a right here?" And what they do is they send you in the back roads, even though the main road's okay.
It's 100 feet shorter.
I worked at WABC Radio a couple of years ago, and a few times, I worked with Joe Nolan. I don't know if you know, he's a traffic guy.
Yeah.
And Joe Nolan knows so much more about traffic in his head than any app. If he's going to tell you to go different ways, he knows for a fact it's going to work, because he has everything in front of him, but he also has the knowledge in his head. He is so good with the traffic. It's amazing. And so to me, it's like doing, you're still doing your job. I'm upset, but anyway, what sports questions do you have?
Okay. Just one last thing about the radio. I run a landscaping business, and I basically have the radio on all day, and I bounce around, and 880 was one of those stations. Just the sports questions. Talking about A-Rod, I think he's just burnt too many bridges, and I don't think they should retire his number. Aaron Judge, I told you guys a few months ago, I've been buying his rookie cards, and he hasn't let me down. Pete Alonso, man, I hope he doesn't turn into the next Dave Kingman, 40 home runs and a 220 average. I love the guy, just wish he'd pick it up a little bit, and I think he's taking a gamble or a risk with his, the contract,
Well, that was something they thought of. When you get his agent,
Boris.
Scott Boras. When you have him as your agent, guess what? You're gonna listen to him because he's had success. Do I think he should have signed this year? Yes, I think he should have signed just to, get it out of the way, because there's a good chance they won't re-sign him if his batting average is really bad, and especially if Juan Soto's available. Would you rather have Juan Soto or Pete Alonso?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, brother, you're talking about two very different contracts.
That's true.
Juan Soto, and we've said this before, Juan Soto is probably going to get a contract somewhere in the neighborhood of 12 years for $50 million or $500 million.
Right.
I just looked up Pete Alonso's numbers. Right now, he's hitting .245 with 27 home runs and 71 RBIs in 131 games. So Pete Alonso basically has about 30 games left. If I had to guess, I'd say he probably finishes somewhere in the neighborhood of 35 home runs and maybe 100 RBIs.
Right.
Pete Alonso going into free agency with less than 100 RBIs on his most recent season. It puts him in a less desirable negotiating position for sure.
Yep.
Especially when the two seasons before that were 40 home runs and 100 plus RBIs.
Yeah, he's hitting a lot of home runs, but no one's on base.
Yeah, well, who used to do that a lot? Darryl Strawberry. Now I love Darryl, but he did that a lot. So.
Yeah.
Anyway, Hank, we're going to cut you off. We have like 5 other things to get to. We appreciate you calling in. Call in next week. We would love to hear from you again.
All right. Thank you. Have a great day.
Take care, Hank. Bye-bye.
Thanks, Hank. You too.
90.3 WHPC. I'm Rob Leonard. He's Tim Leonard. This is From the Press Box. Brother, let's quickly talk. You know, you have a lot of things about soccer this week, so let's do soccer, brother. We're a soccer-friendly show.
Yes.
What do you want to talk about right now with soccer?
Well, we didn't really mention it last week, but the United States national team wants to hire a very good coach by the name of Mauricio Pochettino,
Right.
who I know quite well personally because he was the manager at my Tottenham Hotspur for several seasons. Pochettino last year coached for Chelsea. He was their manager and then mutually left because Chelsea is just a mess right now. They're actually owned now they're owned by an American named Todd Bowley,
Okay.
who doesn't know his ass from his elbow, to put it bluntly. But the U.S. national team has offered Pochettino the job, and that move has been universally praised. The players are thrilled about it. Soccer pundits are thrilled about it. But Chelsea has a situation with Pochettino that still needs to be resolved because Pochettino is owed money by Chelsea.
Right.
And I think they're trying to get out of as much of that obligation as possible for obvious reasons. They don't want to pay the man who's not working for them anymore. So the agreement has hit a little bit of a snag. It likely will be worked out at some point. But what should have been an announcement last week that Pochettino is taking over the U.S. national team, that announcement has been delayed. Hopefully, it will not be reversed at some point. But the U.S. needs to get going, and it sounds like a lot of time, 2 years between now and the World Cup, but it really isn't that much time. And the guy by the name of Mikey Varis has right now taken over the U.S. national team.
Okay.
But he's a guy who he's not a permanent solution.
Okay, well, I understand that. So, what else is happening with I'm watching on Saturday. I turn on the TV, and Ion TV had like 3 games in a row or 2 games in a row of National Women's Soccer League. I was very shocked by it. And
they broadcast that league.
Yeah, so it was like, oh, okay, because I liked watching the women. I still like watching the women's soccer, but it's and it's also the other thing. If you want to watch soccer on regular TV, you have to have NWSL on Ion or CBS Sports Network or CBS because MLS is all in Apple Plus, and I don't have Apple Plus. So,
right.
That is something. I don't know if they're going to change that next year. I know they're getting paid a lot of money from Apple Plus, but I don't know if people are caring. Again, part of soccer in this country is getting people to care. And if you can watch the game, you start to care.
If the game is not available on network television, then people tend to forget about it. And
I agree.
I said this when MLS signed the deal with Apple. I didn't like it because it takes you out of homes.
Yep.
And yes, they're getting a lot of money for it, and that's great for Major League Soccer, but at what cost?
I agree.
So that's and I don't think they will be able to change it next year. I'm pretty sure it's a long-term deal.
It is. But
they're gonna have to look at it and either renegotiate or for the next contract say, all right, do we want eyeballs or do we want greenbacks? It's your choice.
And they took the greenbacks, and part of the problem is, like I said, if you're not watching, you stop caring. And they got to remember this also with NBA. NBA is going to be on Amazon. Not everyone has Amazon TV, So, and plus you have to set it up. I don't. TNT, I knew where it was for 100 years. It's going to be on NBC again. They know how to run. NBC knows how to cover basketball, and I assume that a lot of those same people are going to go over there. But
and the other thing you have to remember with Amazon is that Amazon has been almost universally panned for their broadcasts of Major League Baseball.
Oh God, it's been horrible.
Especially Yankee games. The fans are revolting because the broadcasts have been terrible.
You think they would hire the
people, I don't know where they're getting these people from to broadcast these games. They don't know baseball.
Yeah, I mean,
And that's been the biggest complaint is that Yankee fans and Met fans too, and New York sports fans are knowledgeable fans. when you have somebody broadcasting the games who obviously doesn't know as much as you do, it becomes obvious very quickly. And that's been the issue with Amazon. Is I've heard complaints from so many people about, like, who are these people, where'd they come from, and why are they so horrible?
I know, and the sad part is that I guess they can't hire like the regular guys. You can't go to the Yes Network and say, hey, can we borrow Paul O'Neill and Michael Kay? So
No, because why would the Yes Network release them?
well, allow them to make some extra money.
Come on, they're making enough money.
You always want more, brother. So I mean,
Paul O'Neill doesn't need more money. He made a lot of money as a player.
That's true, he did.
Michael Kay has 2 big money jobs. He doesn't need more money.
Oh, Michael Kay. Good for Michael Kay. Anyway, I got to do the weather here, brother. Your WHPC weather forecast powered by Pantano's Gourmet with locations in Hewlett and Uniondale. This afternoon it's going to be it's basically kind of a mixture of sun and clouds, high about 80. Tonight's going to be low about 69, 68 degrees, depending on where you are on Long Island. And currently outside the studios here at Nassau Community College, it is 74 degrees. A couple of more things before we call it a day, brother. What do you want to bring up? I'll let you do it because we have 4 minutes left.
Well, we'll talk about a little bit about the Jets and the Giants, brother. The exhibition, the annual exhibition game went to the Jets 10-6. It was a snooze fest. It was terrible. None of the starters played except for Jets center John Michael Schmitz Jr., who actually left in the first quarter with an ankle injury, but says he's going to be fine. I mean, not even the rookies played. Malik Neighbors, the Giants wide receiver, did not play.
Didn't Tommy Cutlets
so everybody
play?
was worried about guys getting hurt, and this way nobody got hurt.
Right. Well,
your boy Tommy DeVito, at quarterback for the Giants, played the entire game.
Yeah, I felt bad for him,
Got sacked 8 times.
I know, that's why.
By Jets backups. Imagine how good the Jets starters are if the Jets backups sacked him 8 times.
I felt bad for him. I think he's making the team, though, so...
He is. He's going to be the third quarterback.
Yeah.
The good news for Tommy DeVito and Tommy DeVito's mom is that probably will be the last time he gets hit all season.
Probably, but you know what?
With any luck, he doesn't play.
Yes, I agree with that.
Let's put it this way. If Tommy DeVito plays this season, things are going very wrong for the Giants.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, but
that's what happened last year. Things went very wrong, and all of a sudden, Tommy DeVito's playing. To his credit, he played fairly well.
I thought,
you don't necessarily expect that from the third-string quarterback, but he did all right. So.
Right, and the Aaron Rodgers didn't play at all. Yeah, again, I feel bad for I don't know if it was a Mets or a Jets or a Giants home game at MetLife, but they had to pay full price for their tickets. A crime, if you ask me. All the home games, and let's stop that, please.
It is what it is, brother.
I know, brother.
But the final cut down to 53-man roster happens tomorrow, Tuesday at 4:00 in the afternoon.
Right.
Then when you're looking at the first week of the season, the Giants open at home against the Minnesota Vikings and Sam Darnold, brother, on September 8th. And the Jets will open up on Monday Night Football. They'll be in San Francisco for that one on September 9th. Obviously, a national television audience gets to see Aaron Rodgers actually take real snaps for the Jets, which would be very exciting.
I pray, brother. How many? He wasn't hit at all. This.
Aaron Rodgers, he hasn't played.
I know. So I'm worried.
He's been maybe touched in practice, but that's about it.
I'm worried he's going to get hit and not like it. He hasn't been hit in a year. Yes.
This is what they decided to do. I mean, to me, I would have him play a series or something. I would have had him play a series against the Giants. They didn't want to risk it. If he gets hurt in week 1, I don't know what the difference is, but I guess we'll find out.
That's true, brother. Wherever he gets hurt, if he gets hurt in the season, let's say it's the first game, the second game, or whatever, let's see if he can handle. That's what I would want him to do during the exhibition season, but.
Yes.
What can you do? What can you do about that? Anything else before we leave, brother?
Yes. Little League World Series, brother, was won by Lake Mary, Florida, with actually a weird play. It was a walk-off bunt. Apparently, in the Little League, they do that thing with putting the guy on second base with what Michael Kay. I like what Michael Kay does. He calls it the Manfred Man at second base.
Okay.
I guess we can call it the Manfred Kid in this instance. Sacrifice bunt was put down. And the Chinese Taipei pitcher, without looking at first base, threw the ball to what he thought was a player covering first base. Ball goes into right field. The player who was on second for Florida comes around to score. Florida wins the Little League World Series 2-1.
Oh, okay.
First time Florida's ever won the Little League World Series. They were 0-8 in previous Little League World Series championship games. Florida, the state, not just Lake Mary.
Right.
So,
well, good. Congratulations.
Hopefully you bet against that trend this time.
Yeah. I hope there was no betting on Little League World Series.
Let's hope not.
Anyway, you never know. It could be legal in Vegas. Anyway,
Lastly, brother.
Hurry up. We're running out of time.
Jersey.
Oh, yes. Babe Ruth
jersey from his famous cold shot.
Yeah.
Sold yesterday for a record $24.1 million.
As I said yesterday, brother, the person buying it should wear it. But the
I'd want to get that dry cleaned before I wore it.
You can't wear it dry clean. It'd probably fall apart. It'd fall apart. So anyway, we're done. Thank you, brother. Thank you for listening to From the Press Box here every Monday, 9 a.m. to 10 a.m. I'm Rob Leonard. He is award-winning sports writer Tim Leonard. We'll see you next Monday. The show becomes a podcast. Take care and bye-bye.